We're continuing our Road to Rank 10 series here on the channel, continuing to push for that pinnacle of PvP excellence, rank 10 in the Go Battle League. This set of videos, we've got 5 battles being featured. I believe this is rank 4. We're catching up on some of the edits of some of the older, earlier days videos. But specifically, if you recall from yesterday's video, we were introduced to the Silph Arena's team ranking tool. Now, I'll put a link to that video up above. But simply to summarize, what the Silph Arena's tool attempts to do is to analyze what teams of 3 Pokemon have the highest win percentage in comparison to other potential combinations of, you guessed it, 3 Pokemon in each of the 3 PvP leagues. In essence, what it's attempting to do is analyze what teams, using I believe pvpoke.com's simulator, have the greatest synergy and are able to address the most combinations of possible opponents. So ultimately, if a Pokemon has a weakness, do we have another Pokemon in the back that can address that weakness or serve as potentially a safe switch or something else? In yesterday's video, we used the top ranked team according to the Silph Arena's tool, that being Deoxys Defense Forme, Altaria, and Mantine. And what we came to find after some test battles in the Go Battle League is that those 3 Pokemon specifically have a tough matchup against Azumarill, a Pokemon that is not something you want to have no answer for. So we are going to head back to the Silph Arena's tool and take a look at some of the other potential combinations of Pokemon and what their team ranking tool might suggest that might have a better answer for an Azumarill matchup. Let's head over. Welcome back to the channel, trainers. My name is Oro Chris. I am your catching coach. And again, we are back looking at the Silph Arena's team ranking tool. Again, yesterday we tested out Deoxys Defense Forme, Mantine, and Altaria, running the standard sets of Dragon Breath, Sky Attack, and Dragon Pulse, counter Psycho Boost, and Rock Slide in lieu of the potential for Thunderbolt, and Bubble, Bubble Beam, and Ice Beam on Mantine. And what we were finding in yesterday's battles, one, the spamminess of Mantine's Bubble Beam, as well as the tankiness of these 3 Pokemon overall. We had a lot of timeout matches, and a timeout win or loss is never the most fun way for a battle to end. So I was trying to figure out what alternative could we bring using the tool that would, one, sub out the Altaria. I did not like the potential for catching an Azumarill in the back with an Altaria, and I was looking for what option the tool would recommend that potentially would at least serve as a check against Azumarill, if not a win. And what caught my eye was the Deoxys Defense Forme, Registeel, and Mantine combination. What I liked about this specifically is the synergy between Registeel in the back with that weakness to ground-type attacks with Bubble Beam, and Ice Beam on Mantine. One is a flying type, is going to resist the ground type attacks of a ground attacker. Moreover, as a water type, if the attacking Pokemon is actually a ground type, it's going to hit it for super effective damage. So I liked that potential synergy. So ultimately, this is the team that we selected for this next set of 5 battles in, I believe at the time, rank 4. So we will head over and look at those videos, and ultimately, I think it was a pretty strong showing for these 3 Pokemon. So again, we are running with the Deoxys Defense Forme, the Mantine, as well as the Registeel. And the tool, again, it recommends using specifically, when you're looking at that, the Silph.gg's ranking system, it's very specific about the lead Pokemon. It's not that combination of 3, it's when Deoxys Defense Forme is in the lead, what Pokemon in the back are going to support potentially Deoxys Defense Forme, he or she or it, the most effectively. So here we've got a mirror match against a alternative Deoxys Defense Forme using the right move in the mirror match, the best option that you have is going to be the Rock Slide. One, because it's a cheaper alternative than that offered by Thunderbolt. And Psycho Boost, of course, one, going to debuff you, but two, going to be resisted. So Rock Slide is definitely the way that you want to go. Here, I am trying to do a little bit extra farming and go to the Rock Slide in the back, and I believe he had I had the idea a little bit afterwards. I should have gone for it. I think that either he had a higher attack stat than I did, which is as we know, the changes to CMP. Previously, CMP was decided based on when you had entered the matchup and who hit uses battle party first. Then it was changed to a 50-50 flip of the coin. Now what they've switched to most recently is the Pokemon with the higher attack stat, and that's not specifically the attack IV, that is the attack stat overall, including IV's level and everything else. Whatever Pokemon has a higher attack stat, when there's a charge move used at the same time, CMP being charge move priority, the higher attack stat Pokemon's attack will go off first. So here we have got Psycho Boost knocking out my Deoxys. I have brought in the Mantine, and we've now got Registeel. And what's nice about the Mantine matchup is, one, Focus Blast is going to be resisted as a flying type, and then two, the Flash Cannon as a water type is going to be resisting that damage. So overall, Mantine against Registeel, a very strong option, and Registeel also a very bulky Pokemon. If you can get off one of those bubble beams to debuff the attack stat of the opponent, you're going to be even in all the more strong position. So here we have Altaria has been swapped in. The Dragon Breath damage resisted by the Steel typing of Registeel, as well as resisting the Flying and Dragon type charge moves. So overall, this is a strong matchup for Registeel. The opponent saving those last two shields in the back for his own Registeel, and now we're in a position where we have to elect, do we try to hold on to this Registeel? It is not really worth it. Here, a very positive matchup. I come in with the Mantine thinking I'm going to debuff as much as possible the opposing Registeel. More importantly, if he's going to waste a shield on a Bubble Beam when it's going to be debuffing him regardless, all the better for me. If he's not going to use the shield for that, then I'm at least going to get some chip damage, and that is exactly what happens here, and ultimately we do end up with that time up, again pulling out the time up win. That is one of the big criticisms that one of the feel bads of this team running it was it did better than yesterday's team, but we still had those challenges because Bubble Beam is so spammy. Previously, when charge moves were the tap 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 and you try to get the rings going, charge moves were able to be fired so much more quickly. Now, because of this mini game, this side animation, it takes so long to do the charge moves that if you've got a spammy charge move, something that's low energy with a fast charging fast move, the matches just drag on. So we've got Registeel here. He has swapped out and brought in, that was of course the initial matchup, the Lucario versus the Deoxys. Lucario as a steel type is going to be taking super effective damage from the counter fast move of Deoxys Defense Forme, and in the opposite direction, Deoxys Defense Forme as a psychic type is going to be resisting the most likely fast fighting move of Lucario. So that is a bad matchup for the opponent. He wants to get out of there immediately. The opponent has brought in the Lantern, and now we have got him swapping back in the more positive matchup of Registeel versus the Lucario. Now he's able to get off at least one power-up punch. Not much damage there. I was going to let that go through because no one wants to waste a shield on a buffing move like power-up punch. And now the opponent lets through the Psycho Boost. Typically, you don't want to use the... I guess he didn't let it through. He doesn't have any shields left. You don't want to use Psycho Boost as early on as in the match as possible. You want to save it for the end so you don't debuff yourself and then your attack stats lowered and you're going to not be doing as much damage. But in that instance, because the opponent is weak, the Victory Belt was weak to psychic type damage as a poison type, you're in a much better position to just get that thing out of there quickly. The Razor Leaf is just drilling down the Deoxys, and you want to get that thing out of there as fast as possible. So we're able to launch that Focus Blast, pull out the win against the Lantern, and we have got now 2 wins under our belt with this second set of battles using the Silph Arena's team building tool. So now we have got the shiny flex of the opponent with the, we can only assume, Frenzy Plant Venusaur. Now, as a poison type, Psycho Boost, again, you don't want to lead with it. It's not the best thing, but because we can potentially get the super effective damage if he's not going to shield, if he's thinking it's potentially Rock Slide or even a resisted Thunderbolt, God, goodness forbid. So we swap into the Registeel. Venusaur as a grass and poison type is not going to have an answer to a steel type like Registeel, unlike Meganium with Earthquake as a ground type attack is going to be able to at least have some counter coverage. Here, Venusaur's got no answer. Everything's resisted. So the opponent does a good job, swaps out into the Azumarill. And again, as we mentioned earlier in the video, Registeel, not exactly a winning matchup, but at least it offers a better check. It's not a hard loss like the Altaria was in yesterday's video. So now we have got the opponent bringing in the recently not Legacy, I believe this was the one, not Legacy, Venomoth. Previously, Venomoth's Poison Fang charge move was only available through Legacy. It had been removed from its move pool some time back, I think in 2018, if memory serves. And that was one of those moves that, because it was low charging, had stab damage, things like fairy types like Azumarill for super effective was very, very sought after, especially in Silph Arena Cups. But because it has been brought back, now we've got an option, and no one has to power up those maxed out, or those 100% dust stocks that we were using as an alternative. So here, the Silver Wind, he's going to let that through. Any fast move, if he's got it, as an alternative, whether it be Poison Fang, whether it be Psychic, all of those are going to be better options than the Silver Wind. Because of the flying typing, as we said previously, that bug type damage of Silver Wind is going to be resisted, whereas Poison Fang's a cheaper move. It's not going to be resisted, or if it had potentially Psychic, which was recently buffed, that would also be a great option. But here, we've managed to pull out the win in match number 3. Now we are going straight into number 4, getting those, I guess that was number 4, getting those sweet charge TMs. If you have the passes to use on ranks 1 through 6, but it might be an easier grind to get those 4 wins, I cannot recommend enough using those passes. Now, I understand it potentially it's a bit of a money grab, but potentially no less of a money grab than that of a using a raid pass to do an extra raid. So here the opponent has swapped out the Bronzong, likely running Confusion there, showing the flex of the powered up and evolved Scraggy into Scrafty. We've got, sadly, however, as a fighting dark type, it's going to be weak to the fighting damage offered by Deoxys Defense Forme's counter fast move, as well as going to take, or it's going to resist at least both of the charge moves that mine has, those being Rock Slide. The fighting type subtype is going to resist that, and the psychic typing of Psycho Boost is resisted by the dark type. Moreover, it's actually immunity tier resistance, so the fact that it's a fighting type only negates that to a point where it's just not very effective, doubly not very effective. So here we have got the very interesting pick of the opponent here being Spiritomb. We're trying to debuff as much as possible, use that Bubble Beam, bring down the attack stat, and that Shadow Ball, even with the debuffed status of Spiritomb as a Ghost Fairy into Deoxys. This is not going to be pleasant, but we're going to try to get rid of that as quickly as possible. but even with that being debuffed, Shadow Ball hits like a truck. So we do lose that Mantine. We bring in, because I think I can get through the Spiritomb with as much energy as we have. And then here, I'm trying to think, does it have Earth Power, Bulldoze? What is the charge move that Bronzong recently got? And he hits me with a Heavy Slam. So thank goodness for that. I'm assuming then so that's a real challenge. If you're tapping at the bottom too quickly, I've got an iPhone 8. I think it's an 8. And if you tap too low, or if you're doing your animations for the fighting move, and you go like too low on the screen and then come up, the phone thinks, oh, he wants to exit out of here. So it took me out of the menu, brought me in, and that's ultimately what happened there. So we do pull out that win. Going, I believe, in that series of battles. I don't know if that was all 5 of them, but at least in the set of 5 there, using this team, we did go 5-0. Overall, I would say that the team did much better than the previous team. We only had 1 match, I think, go to time. And I think that the synergy overall of Mantine as well as Registeel not having the potential hard loss to Azumarill was really a benefit. So overall, I think that the team did very, very well, and I was happy with that 5-0 win moving into rank 5.